A reading from Psalm 71, verses 1 through 12. In you, O Lord, I take refuge. Let me never be put to shame. In your righteousness, deliver me and rescue me. Incline your ear to me and save me. Be to me a rock of refuge, a strong defense, a strong fortress to save me, for you are my rock and my fortress. Rescue me, O my God, from the hand of the wicked, from the grasp of the unjust and cruel. For you, O Lord, are my hope, my trust, O Lord. From my youth, upon you I have leaned from my birth. It was you who took me from my mother's womb. My praise is continually of you. I have been like a portent to many, but you are my strong refuge. My mouth is filled with your praise and with your glory all day long. Do not cast me off in the time of old age. Do not forsake me when my strength is spent. For my enemies speak concerning me, and those who watch for my life consult together. They say, pursue and seize that person whom God has forsaken, for there is no one to deliver. O God, do not be far from me. O my God, make haste to help me. The word of the Lord.
Let us now turn to the gospel reading today. I'm going to start a little bit earlier than what's listed. I'm reading from Luke 2, and I'm going to read 39 through 52. I invite you to listen for what the Spirit may be nudging you to see or hear. When they had finished everything required by the law of God, they returned to Galilee, to their own town of Nazareth. The child Jesus grew and became strong, filled with wisdom, and the favor of God was upon him. Now every year his parents went to Jerusalem for the festival of the Passover. And when he was 12 years old, they went up as usual for that festival. When the festival was ended and they started to return, the boy Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem, but his parents did not know it. Assuming that he was in the group of travelers, they went a day's journey. Then they started to look for him among their relatives and friends. When they didn't find him, they returned to Jerusalem and searched for him. After 3 days, they found him in the temple, sitting among the teachers, listening to them and asking them questions. And all who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. When his parents saw him, they were astonished. And his mother said to him, "Child, why have you treated us like this? Look, your father and I have been searching for you in great anxiety." He said to them, "Why were you searching for me? Did you not know that I must be in my Father's house?" But they did not understand what he said to them. Then he went down with them and came to Nazareth and was obedient to them. His mother treasured all these things in her heart. And Jesus increased in wisdom and in years and in divine and human favor. May God add blessing to the reading this day. So I invite you at some point soon to look out at the wildflower garden that is awaiting you out there. Pam and her team have done an amazing job of cleaning up the field. It's finally clear of all the old stalks. It's freshly clean. It is super peaceful out there. And you don't have to look very hard to see an amazing sheen of green seedlings. Almost all the green you see out there are baby flowers, getting ready to do their thing this spring. And for those of us who wait for this every year, you know what we're waiting for. We're expecting those things to grow and grow and grow and just explode. People to come from all over just to see it, to be a part of it. So hold that thought of the flowers. And I also know that many in this congregation are teachers or parents who have given so much of their time and energy for their kids to grow and develop. We count on it, don't we? As parents and teachers, we give all that we are so these kids, our kids, can grow. Not just stay little Jimmy or Timmy, not little 2-year-old, little baby. Grow into something. Grow into something amazing. And we enjoy that process. We work for it. Their growth and development is super important to us. We give so much of our time and energy for it. But what about us? What about us? All of nature proclaims how important growth and development is. We as parents, teachers, know how important growth and development is. But what about us? What about us? Is growth and development that important for us? Do we want to be the same now as we will be in 10 years? The same way we react to things? Same way we understand the world? Do we just get stuck in our ruts? Keep going along just as we are? Or are we willing to work, to grow, to shift, to change, to be a part of what God's dynamic is in this world? God has created us to grow. What do scientists say? We use, 5, 10, 15% of our brains? What if we were to grow and expand that? Today, I am reminding us that our growth and maturing, at whatever age or stage we find ourselves in, is incredibly important. And it's totally possible. Christianity, unfortunately, has become often an exercise in belief and orthodoxy. We are taught that we must believe certain things to be a good Christian, or actually to be a Christian at all. We just got to check off the boxes of what we believe. We have to kind of conform to the norm that's out there. But here's one of the main problems with that. Jesus didn't teach that. And Jesus certainly did not live that. He was constantly challenging the norms of the culture around him, taking them on at every take, constantly challenging the system in which he lived. And more than that, he was constantly teaching and encouraging his disciples and all those around him to grow, to deepen, to mature, to see things differently, particularly in the Gospel of Luke. And you may remember, because I've taught this before, so sorry for repeating myself, but Luke was chosen as a gospel to be one of the 4 in our Gospels, not only because it told the story and the good news of Jesus, but it told it from the point of view of growing and maturing in our faith. Set in there intentionally for that. And right here at the beginning of the gospel and the beginning of Jesus' life, we see Luke presenting Jesus as challenging the norms as a 12-year-old. Can you imagine? Sitting in the temple. Okay, those of us who have 12-year-olds know that's what they do. I get it. However, in the temple, that may be a different thing. He's sitting in there asking questions, sharing responses, giving answers. His parents are amazed. People are amazed at this. We see him growing. We hear the story of him not only challenging the norms, but also growing. We are told twice in this very short passage that Jesus increased in wisdom and in years and in divine and human favor. Sound good? Sound good? Yeah? Okay. Luke is the only gospel to use this language. And it's intentionally to get us to understand that even Jesus needed time to grow and mature and become who he was meant to be. And I think that somehow we've often been taught that Jesus kind of came fully formed. He knew everything. He was always good. He was always in control. Luke says something different. And I think it's important for us because we never come fully formed. We're never fully ready for this world. And it's okay. That is okay. But are we willing to grow? Are we willing to mature? Are we willing to become more than we have been? Even in the temple, Mary and Joseph found him listening and asking questions. I love that. What a beautiful statement. And for Westhope, we who love to listen and ask questions, this should be music to our ears. Affirming kind of who we are and what we're about. And it makes sense if we're really trying to grow, to shift things around in us to a new understanding, to find something more, something deeper, something bigger. The answer that we were taught in Sunday school or even in youth group or even in college, those things don't work once we grow into something else. Once we get into the adult world, some of those simple answers just don't work. In the age of computers, the Bible wasn't ready for computers. The Bible wasn't ready for some of these advances in science and understanding. They just weren't there. Can we grow? Can we develop? Can we continue to mature in how we deal with this world and who we are in this world? I want to admit something to you today. I was in spiritual direction a couple weeks ago. And my spiritual director asked me how morning prayer was for me. And I said, well, I haven't felt that divine presence in morning prayer. I haven't heard a burning bush recently. And what I notice is that it's shifted for me to be a foundation for my day. Kind of a sacred understanding that helps me then throughout my day listen for God and hear God more fully through the day. See God more at work through the day. And his response was hilarious to me and ironic. He said, well, good. I'm glad you've grown out of your old understanding. I hadn't thought of that. Of course that's what was happening. I just wasn't aware of it until I talked it through with him. I was growing. How about that? Who knew? I could do that. But telling that story makes me curious for you. What did you find in the prayer practice that we did earlier? How is the Spirit calling you to grow out of something old and into something new? What might God be longing for you to grow into? Where is a place of growth for you? New understanding for you? Is growth and maturing even important to you? Is it something you're striving for, particularly spiritually? Do you want to grow in wisdom and in divine and human favor, as the scripture passage says? If that's a priority for you, what's your strategy to do that? How are you getting there? How's God leading you there? Another part of the passage that may help us in our thinking is that we're told that Mary treasured all these things in her heart. And that's not just supposed to be a nice, aw, mother-son moment. It's actually supposed to be a spiritual teaching. How do you treasure things? When you have a really cool experience, what do you do with it? Just go, oh, that was cool. Move on. When you have a new insight, oh, cool insight. I'm really smart. And move on. I mean, there are a lot of things to move on to in our lives. We have a lot of things waiting for us. Thomas Merton, who was a mystic and a very wise man, said that in America, we tend to move from experience to experience to experience and never stop to reflect on any of it, so lose the wisdom in all of it. Ooh, that's a good one. There are a lot of things to move on to. But here Mary says, we're told that Mary treasured them in her heart. How do you hold those valuable things? If you've prayed for something for a long time and it finally happens, what do you do with that? Do you reflect on it? Do you hold it? Do you treasure it? Because when you do, you can gain the wisdom from it. You get to deeper levels of it. Better understanding, more profound thinking. When you say you're praying about something, do you actually pray about it? When you're thinking about something, do you actually think about it? Take the time. So I was just moving on to the next thing. Here we have Mary showing us the way. She treasures it. She didn't go blab about him. Oh, my son, it was crazy. He was in the temple. You should have seen him go. No. She treasured them in her heart. Didn't put it out there. Held it in here. Reflected on it. Wondered about it. Pondered it. I also challenge you to make time to look at how you react to things. This can show you some growth places. How have you changed over the last year, the last 10 years, the last 30 years? For some of us longer, I won't go down that path. In how you react to the world. When somebody says something offensive to you, do you just still want to pop them in the mouth? Or shake them really hard? That's one level of spiritual maturity. It's a low level. But have you grown? Where have you grown? What do you still need to do? How is your ego involved in your reactions? Are you better able to hear others or keep your ego at bay when they talk to you? Even if they say weird things or confrontational things or hard things. Are you maturing in how your ego is involved or how your lizard brain gets involved and jumps in? Awareness is the first step to healing. It's also a great indicator about where our growth lies, where our development lies. Now, I've been asking a lot of questions, calling on you to reflect on a lot of things, and you may not be in a place to deal with those today. Fabulous. I love it. Will you take time when you go home to reflect on some of those things? Will you take time to treasure some of those things that may have been challenging to you? Wonder about them. All of this is part of Luke's gospel and the calling to holiness lived out in the world. Last week, we proclaimed in our ritual that you are God's beloved with whom God is well pleased. How are you willing to grow into that identity? How are you willing to grow into living that out in the world and helping others to that understanding? I'm also aware that this is an important thing to ponder, to think about, particularly heading into tomorrow's inauguration and what I expect is coming. Because we know this is our second round with President Trump. So we know part of what's coming. And we can get angsty. We can scream into our pillows. We can pound the walls of our houses. And that's not going to do a thing. We are going to find, among so many other things, we are going to find so many places over the next 4 years where we need to grow. It's going to be pointed out to us. It's going to be screamed from pulpits and from city halls and from state capitals and from our capital. This administration is going to poke us and prod us and let us know what's important to us. And we can respond from very immature places, wanting to call Trump names and punch him in the mouth. Or we can find out where we need to grow, who we need to be, what's important to us. What is a good, healthy, mature response to crazy? It's going to make a lot of us really uncomfortable. Good. Good. Be uncomfortable. Because what does that teach you about who you are? What does that teach you about what's important to you? Good. Be uncomfortable. What does it tell you about the United States and the changes that we need to make and how we need to get there? I think it divinely ironic that we're going to be standing on the steps of City Hall tomorrow night talking about Martin Luther King and racism and justice and equity and unity, and tomorrow morning there's going to be a whole different message, I can guarantee you. Divine irony everywhere. What will we do with it? What will we do with it over the next 4 years? Because if Luke's gospel is about growing and maturing, then maybe it's important. If Luke presents Jesus as needing to grow and mature, then maybe it's important. If we know that kids fighting in the sandbox over a toy need to grow and mature, then maybe as adults, that message still holds true for us. Because there's going to be, I'm guessing, some fighting in the sandbox over the next 4 years. How do we react? How are we connected to God and others? Is it the same as it was 10 years ago? And will it be the same in 10 years from today? Hopefully, we can grow. We can mature, we can deepen, so that it's different. And remarkably, growing and maturing is for our benefit. It's for our lives becoming better. It's for our lives becoming more full and in ways easier to navigate. And guess what? Remarkably, it's better for the world as well. So are we willing? Are we willing? Will we work on our growing up? Because the world needs grown-up, mature, and wise folks bringing that way to bear for the welfare of all. May we strive to be those people. May we continue to grow into those people. And may it be so today and all our days. Amen.